To watch Golden Lotus was given to me. I wonder how this will be, and I was so delighted um, that it was so good because I think it's a hard subject to actually discuss, and I myself have had trouble discussing it. People have a lot of stereotypes about it, and as I told Joanne when I met her later, I was so thrilled that instead of are being brought to foot binding from the outside, and women who bind their feet become these objects of the gaze of the camera, and they become they're over here and we're over here, and we can't really bridge that distance. Instead, because this woman, this very old woman, was herself an artist, and because Joanne showed her beautiful paper cut art, she had a voice. And not just the voice of somebody answering questions of an interviewer, but she had her own artistic presence in the film, which made her a real person who had bound feet, but a real person. So that's one of the things that I thought was the most interesting about the film. Well, thinking of the challenges that presented themselves when I started studying foot binding in the early 90s, I started writing about how important it was for scholars to really take seriously the experience of early modern Chinese women and foot binding. And I wrote the first essay. It was called Bound to be Represented. I would present this essay at conferences or to workshops, and I would really get in trouble. People would stand up from the audience. They would ask me nasty questions. They would say to me, "What is the matter with you? Foot binding is a bad thing. Why do we need to know about foot binding? All we need to know is that foot binding is over. You sound like you're in favor of foot binding. You sound like you like foot binding." And all I was saying was that foot binding must have had some kind of meaning and significance for the women that did it, that it wasn't just about these women being a complete victim of their circumstances. And this was very, very unpopular as a feminist point of view, and I consider myself a feminist. So it took a long time. It took 15 years for other work to be done in the history of foot binding by other scholars. Foot binding. So I think Golden Lotus is an unusual film and much needed as a film. There is the work of Dorothy Coe, who wrote a book called Cinderella's Sisters, which is an excellent social history of foot binding in China. Very few people have taken this up seriously. Very few, far too few.